Hey guys, Ryan Potter here with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Ambassador Real Estate, and I'm continuing on in our series of the 12 things you need to know before going sailing for the first time, or how that applies to us in the real estate world here. So my 12 steps to helping you get prepared to buying a home and steps that you need to take to get there. So we've covered in part 1 and part 2 the first 4 steps, and now I'm going in part 3 here with step 5 and 6, which kind of coincide with one another. But here's what it says. Number 5, it says, bring a well thought out first aid kit. And it goes into explain the basics for every first aid kits are band-aids, antibiotics, tapes, and pain reliever. And a few extras should be tossed into your crossing kit or cruising kit, right? But it says prepare yourself to handle everything from broken bones and scrapes to burns and sickness. So how does that relate to the real estate world, right? Well, I think for me, as I read that, you want somebody that's an experienced realtor. You want somebody that has gone through some of the turmoil, some of the things that might not necessarily come up in a normal conversation or you might think about as you're going through a transaction. But the reality is you do run into issues. You do run into things where you need a first aid kit. And that first aid kit is your realtor that's experienced, that knows how to handle those difficult situations and to basically do what's best in your interest and to look out for the best of your interest as well in doing that. And so things that kind of come to mind, I start thinking about some of the stories that I've been with before, but something simple as something might come back on the inspection report. And one for me personally, Vanessa and I rode up on a house one time, and we were going through the property inspection, and the guy was like, hey, there's some issues here with the foundation. And obviously the inspector's not going to ruin the deal, but he pointed out some things. We brought out actually a structural engineer, so he would be somebody that I would say is a part of the first aid kit, right? He's someone that can come out and give a second opinion, kind of help the situation, and help you decide where you go moving forward. And so he kind of talked about street creep, which if you're not familiar with that, that's another issue that you don't always think about or know about, but you learn about it as you go through it. Ask me about that later and I'll explain it. But basically what had happened is the driveway had been at a T where the house is at, and so that driveway was pushing to the back of the garage and pushing out that corner of the foundation, and so there continued to be cracks and things like that. And so Vanessa and I decided to walk away, even though we really love the house. We decided to walk away because we knew that would be something that we'd have to disclose moving forward if we were to ever sell the house and things like that. So we talked through kind of those processes and those things, even in the midst of, okay, here's the current transaction, what we're doing, but we were thinking outside of the box as far as, okay, when we go to resell, are we going to have to disclose these things? And yes, you will have to disclose those things, and that might deter a buyer from buying the house from you later on down the road. So those are just things to think about, and you don't get that without experience. You don't get that without knowing, and your realtor knowing certain people and being able to call those people in need, in times of need and times of help. And so that's why I want to encourage you there with that step, because I think that's very important as you're thinking about who do I want to get as a realtor and represent us. So get someone that's been in the game a little bit, that knows people and that knows others in the industry, and maybe do research there and read up on some reviews and things like that. Number 6 kind of goes into kind of what I've just been talking about, but they had on the sailing part, be sure to have a compass, a GPS, and a map, right? Well, obviously, if you're going sailing, you want to know where you're going and where you're at all times, right? Well, it's the same thing in real estate and in a transaction. I put down here setting the proper expectations. So you want to have a realtor that's going to set the proper expectations for you from beginning to end. That's what I do with my clients. I sit them down in a first meeting and I explain just kind of the basics and everything, but then as we go through the transaction, I let them know everything that possibly could come up or we could possibly deal with, or I just educate them on kind of the next steps to take as you get through the written contract, the inspection, the appraisal, all those things. I'm continuing to follow up with them to let them know, hey, here's the direction that we're going, here's where we're at. In cases where maybe the underwriter has maybe pushed back closing a couple days or there's a possibility of that, you want to make sure that you're in good communication there, and your realtor's in good communication with your lender, because you want them to stay on top of the transaction and to know where you're at all times, right? So as that compass, as that GPS or that map, you want that realtor to have good communication skills, and you want them to know and to keep you informed of where you're at in the transaction throughout the process, and I do that. Typically, I do it on every Monday or Tuesday is what I try to do, is follow up with all my clients and current transactions and say, hey, I talked to your lender, hey, I talked to the appraiser, hey, I talked to whoever, this is where we're at, and this is where we're going. It looks like we're on point, we're ready to close. Just waiting on a couple more things, and I tell them what those things are, and then we continue to move forward. So with that, I mean, that's probably two things actually that you really want to, when you're thinking about buying your house and moving forward. There is having the experienced realtor, and then making sure that that realtor sets proper expectations and communication with you as far as where you're at in the process as you move forward. So 2 quick easy steps there in part 3. I've got 2 more, I think, possible, actually 3 more steps to do here with you guys moving forward and covering those. So 3 more parts, 6 more steps, and we'll go from there. But thanks for chiming in, and be sure to check me out, realtorpotter.com. If you want to connect with me, that's where all of my platforms are at. You can shoot me an email, you can check out my social media platforms, or you can check out some videos. So look forward to doing some more here, and look forward to touching base with you soon. Thanks, guys.